Welcome back to the program. Let's begin this hour on line number 10 with economist Wade Locke. Hello, Dr. Locke. You're on the air.
Hello, Patty. How are you doing?
I'm fine, sir. How are you this afternoon?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Wade, did you hear Denny Dumaresque?
I was driving back. I heard part of it. I mean,
let me give you the basic summary of his comments on yours, is that he says you're out to lunch when it comes to the mines in Labrador, and how can you possibly come up with that conclusion? So talk us through why you think what you think, and why Hydro-Quebec is not the answer if they do indeed need power that would not cost us an arm and a leg.
With respect to being out to lunch, Patty, I guess he's going to have to stand in line. There's a lot of people who have that kind of opinion. And that's fine. I mean, sometimes they pat you on the back and sometimes they kick in the ass. So, so that comes with the territory. What I was saying to your reporter at the conference on housing, by the way, not on electricity, but on the demand for housing. But what I was saying was basically that in order for mining projects to proceed in Labrador, we are going to have to need power. And to me, given all the needs that are in the province and in Labrador for industrial development, Muskrat strikes me as the most reasonable option.
When the first easy question that many will pose is, why not just use the recall power that we have left over, which is about 100 megawatts, and or enter into purchase power agreements with Hydro-Quebec for the mining development and expansions in Labrador?
Sure. If Alron were the only project, which is a project he mentioned, then the recall power might be enough to do Alron. There's only 100 megawatts of recall power. But don't forget, there's a number of other developments in terms of iron ore that people are seriously considering for Labrador, right? I mean, don't forget the IOC has announced that they're going to a concentrate expansion program, which they will have most of it completed by 2012. And they also have a new concentrator being considered as well as going to something what's normally called their Genesis project, which will go from 25 million tons to 50 million tons of iron ore produced annually. All around is somewhere between 8 and 16, depending upon how they phase it. There are projects like New Millennium, which is another 22 million tons. There's Labrador Iron Mines and Tanis DSO and other projects there. I mean, we could see iron ore developments going up to 80 million tons. The planned expansion and 100 million megawatt hours just won't do it. It may not even do it for Alron.
But we could certainly buy more power from Hydro-Quebec, who are in a surplus position now. So for people around here who are worried about the money, like you would be, and certainly what I am, why would Muskrat Falls be the answer as opposed to simply buying the power for Hydro-Quebec on an economics front? I know you can't speak to the politics of it, but strictly on economics, why not just save the ratepayers of the province by going to Hydro-Quebec directly and to buy every megawatt of power required in Labrador, especially Lab West?
Well, I don't know how much power is available from them, but I mean, clearly that's an option. I don't know at what price. I mean, obviously what you'd have to do is compare the price you'd pay, and I don't know what that price is. I think I heard Mr. Dumas say we're selling them for 3 cents per kilowatt hour. Well, that's off by a factor of 10, just for the record. But if we're buying it for 5 cents or 6 cents, I don't know what they sell it to you for. But then you have to say, okay, well, what are the other benefits of having Muskrat Falls? I mean, because right now, with the numbers we know now, the generating cost for Muskrat Falls is in the order of 7 cents, right? I mean, that's what Nalcor told us when they released their numbers initially, right? Well, I haven't seen the updated numbers, but based on those numbers, so now it's 7 cents plus 5 cents, and then you've got to consider what benefit it is for having the power here in the province as well as in Labrador, right, in the island versus Labrador, and the other benefits come along with that in terms of employment and income and the potential to develop the Muskrat by going around Quebec.
Well, and once again, simply on the economics front, if indeed Muskrat Falls and the justification for it is based on the mines, then how can a solid economic plan for the ratepayers and the citizens of Newfoundland and Labrador include us bearing the brunt, if not all, of the capital payback, when indeed that power is going to be used by the mines and not necessary for us? And the second part, and I'll let you speak to both.
Sure.
If Muskrat Falls is going to power the mines, then why is there any good economics associated with bringing that power to the island and then, of course, getting involved with a private sector company, which is also its own tangle, politically and certainly economically? So if they need all the power there, Why should the ratepayers bear the brunt of the expense? And then why would we even consider doing the island connectivity when, in fact, they're going to burn all the power in Labrador?
Some of these questions you're going to have to speak to Nalcor or to the government. But let me give you my perspective on some of these points you made there. Let me try to think here now. There's a number of questions you had there.
Let's start number one. Let's start with
you said that it was being done for the mining. It's not being, my understanding, it's not being done for the mining. Even when they started off this process, mining wasn't going to meet with Muskrat Falls. The issue was that there's a need on the island. This is my understanding. I could be wrong on this, but there's a need on the island, and in order to meet that need on the island, they were going to develop Muskrat Falls because it was small in relation to Gull Island. Gull Island was too big to develop, and Muskrat Falls was going to do it. And they were going to use 40% now and going up to 100%.
Right.
And so 40% and 20% was going to be provided to Emera, Nova Scotia, in exchange for the maritime link, on which there was an availability of space that you could export if you had a market for it, the surplus that we didn't need right now. And my understanding, and that's the way the project was always rationalized. Now, what I said to people, I said, because I get, given my privileged position at the university, and I do a lot of these kinds of studies, it's clear to me that people were not thinking about, or as much as they should be, the potential for mining in Labrador. So when people were saying, well, there's 40% of the power, no market for it, well, there's a domestic market for it, which is the iron ore developments in Labrador. They can use up all of that 40% and then some. So the point I would make to you is that the power wasn't being developed for mining in Labrador. My understanding is being developed for the needs on the island. And so long as there's a need for the power, and this is the cheapest alternative. Now, I understand people have different perspectives on it, and we'll get to see when the numbers come out. I guess soon they'll come out. Then we'll have a real debate about what is the lowest cost, least cost one. But there are all kinds of benefits, in my mind, for developing Muskrat and using some of the power to facilitate and enhance economic development through industrial activity such as mining activity in Labrador. That's how I see it. Now, I can appreciate that others may not see it that way, but based upon everything I know about right now, and I will look again when the numbers come out for the DG3 to see whether I should change my position. I don't think I will, but who knows? We'll see. Right now, it's all speculation. But what is clear is that in order for mining development to go forward, they're going to need two things. They're going to need people, and they're going to need power. Yeah, and they're going to be constrained on both sides of those things.
Last couple of questions here, Wade. Sure. People are, of course, when you speak to these matters, same as the last go-around when you presented at Memorial, people are insinuating that you're on the payroll, you're a propagandist machine for the government. Do you indeed get a fee from Hydro, Newfoundland Power, and or Nalcor in the government? And how do you respond to people saying that you're simply a propaganda machine?
Well, it's not worth the trouble to humor these kinds of insinuations. I mean, I heard some of the insinuations on your radio this morning and on your news today from some people, correct or incorrect. I'm not on the payroll for Nalcor or the government with respect to this particular project or speaking here. Nobody knew I was going to raise this issue in the thing on housing. I mean, I was trying to explain to people issues that are constraining us in terms of our economy and what are the hopes. And in my mind, one of the hopes and one of the possible benefits for this particular, for long-term development of this province is mining. And mining can help offset some of the revenues. This is the context this was said, right? Mining can offset some of the revenues that are going to be lost because of the maturing of oil and gas fields. It won't completely offset it. We'll still have a fiscal situation we've got to deal with, but it'll offset part of it. And given that, what are the things that will make this go forward and what are the things that will make constraints go forward? If we don't have people that can do the jobs, then we're going to have a problem with developing all the mines. If we don't have power that can be used for developing the mines, then we will have a problem in developing those. As far as personal insinuations or personal attacks or innuendo, I'll leave people to do that because I took that too personally the last time it happened, and it threw me off, and I don't have the thick skin as I might have had on these kind of things. But that being said, I'm an economist at the university, and I believe it's my responsibility to provide things responses to public policies I believe to be correct. Now, Whether I believe them to be correct and they're wrong, that's a different issue. But what I'm telling you now, and what I've told people in the past and recently, is what I believe to be correct.
I appreciate your time, and certainly when you open yourself up for the pot shots, like you do, like I do, like many do who have an opinion on anything, it's just the way the ball bounces, especially on something as controversial and contentious like Muskrat Falls is. I appreciate your time, Wade. I'm going to reach out to you in another week or so to get back to some of the other issues you are discussing, like the fiscal situation we find ourselves in with the looming deficit, and, of course, how that reflects on how we spend at the government level. I appreciate your call today.
Before I go, Patty, let me just make one point to you as well. Just for your listeners' information, tomorrow the Department of Economics is rolling out something called Collaborative Applied Research in Economics with the intent of increasing the amount of technical economic research on issues that are important in an applied sense to the province. And we will address all kinds of issues like, for example, the benefits of trying to avoid moose collisions on the highway, the issues around the fiscal situation of the province, issues around social capital, all those kind of things, in a very technical sense, but we're trying to provide analysis that will be publicly available to anybody who wants to look at it. It will be available on our website, and we're going to start doing that now and increase the amount of activity that we as a department do in order to make a stronger and a more significant contribution to appropriate or inappropriate.
I think it's a brilliant idea, and just furthers my open invitation to you so that we can get into piece by piece the economics of where we are and where we're going, how we can get there and how we should get there.
Well, Patty, that's something that I have a passion for with respect to this particular research initiative, and I'd be happy to speak to you on that.
All the very best to you, Wade. I appreciate your time today. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Dr. Wade Locke, Professor of Economics at Memorial University. The assertion that he's paid propagandists and stuff, and I think his point is well made. The thick skin required to be in the line of fire is very real. Some people use that and say those things because they don't like what they hear. Whether or not you agree with his conclusions is quite a different matter than whether or not you question the man's integrity. But anyway, that's the way it goes in the public sphere here in Newfoundland and Labrador. You say stuff, you get the face smacked off you, but lucky for me, you can't hurt me.